To begin, make sure you have your scratch paper so that your hand will not be smudging any of your charcoal. Remember, we have our light source coming from the upper left side. So instead of putting shadows where our highlights are, which was the upper left side where the light was, we're going to put them in the bottom right sides, okay? So again, I like to just start off by kind of outlining the areas where the shadows would be. And then I will use kind of like a little hatching motion to put in just a little more value in some of these areas. I'm using a 4B. I am not pushing hard at all, okay? When you're done depositing your charcoal, I like to work in the same direction because I'm right-handed. I like to pull to the right. So make sure that your blending stump is nice and sharp and clean, so it has a nice tip for those darkest areas so we're not going out of bounds. Stick with me for a minute until I get to this larger section. So I'm starting by using the very tip of my blending stump to just kind of smooth out that edge, that line on the very edge, okay? Once I get that smoothed out, I'm kind of blowing the remnants of the charcoal off. Now I'm blending away from the darkest areas over that line, blending it into the green paper as much as possible. Okay, so I kind of blended out the area that I've colored first, making sure not to go out of bounds. And then I'm going to blend over that line. That is the only way you're going to get a nice soft gradient. Once you're done with your first pumpkin, you're going to continue with your second pumpkin if you have one. Start by depositing in the lower right areas and start in all of those lines. Deposit the extra value later using very light strokes. Once you have finished your pumpkins, notice that your pumpkins are overlapping. You're going to want to add a little bit of a cast shadow so it looks more realistic. Now, if you want to make your pumpkins look a little more interesting and have some texture, you can add some more shadows and highlights like I'm doing here. Okay, you're going to add some black in some areas. You're going to blend it out. Okay, and then once you have black added in areas, you're going to add that white charcoal back in to the upper left hand side from where the light's coming from to those areas. Okay, just kind of keep going back and forth from dark to light if you want to add a little more interesting texture to your pumpkins. Next, we're going to add a cast shadow. Okay, so you have to remember where that direction of light is coming from. So very lightly, you can do this in pencil even. You're going to kind of almost sketch in the contour line of your cast shadow. You're going to add just a very light amount of charcoal. You're going to blend that out first. Again, blending it out past the boundary of where you deposited the charcoal into the green paper so it has a nice soft gradient. Okay, you can add more if you want it a little darker. Once you get that first bit, you're going to go back really hard with your charcoal right underneath your pumpkins, because that is going to be the darkest area. Okay, also you want your pumpkins to stand out, and if the darkest area of your pumpkin is the same as the darkest area of your cast shadow, they're not going to stand out anymore. So make sure you go back in with that extra dark, blend it out lightly. Last but not least, you must sign your artwork.